Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new Ninjago video here on the channel. My name is TannerFishies. In today's video, we are back again with another round of Ninjago hot takes. This is the series of videos where we ask you guys, the audience, to submit your own Ninjago hot takes, and we choose a few to discuss on the channel. As per usual, we put up a community tab post asking you guys to submit your own controversial or spicy Ninjago opinions. You know, opinions that are supposed to be a little bit non-traditional, opinions that may cause people to raise their eyebrows. And with that being said, we will be showcasing usernames in today's video along with their controversial or spicy Ninjago opinions. Feel free to not go out of your way to harass anybody whose name is featured in today's video. This is just all in good fun. I don't think you need to take this seriously here. And if you disagree with any opinions that you might see in today's video, well, that's kind of the point. These are supposed to be hot takes after all. So without further ado, why don't we go ahead and get started by taking a look at this round of Ninjago hot takes brought to us by you guys, the audience. Lloyd and Harumi's relationship is pretty realistic. It has its ups and downs, but overall, it'll be interesting to see how it turns out in the end for both of them. So I figured this could be a very interesting one to start off with because, again, a large majority of the Ninjago community, from what I've seen, does not like the Lloyd and Harumi pairing. And if that's your opinion, you know, more power to you. However, I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. That's just my personal opinion. And I'd say it's only realistic in the sense that all relationships have bad parts to them. Some folks will argue, some folks will fight with their significant other. That's totally normal, at least to an extent, obviously. And it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows, not even close. Now with realism, again, Ninjago can only become so realistic. I mean, sure, Harumi did resurrect Lloyd's dead father to try to get back at him. That's not necessarily realistic, but it's realistic in the sense that, yeah, it is a negative part of their relationship. We've seen negatives in relationships like Jay and Nia as well. So negatives in relationships, like I said, are realistic, but I'm not sure how realistic Lloyd and Harumi's relationship could be. Hot take: the people who write the Ninjago comics and books are far better writers than the people that currently write the show. I thought this was a very interesting take as well, but I'm not sure if I agree. I mean, sure, the people that write the current Ninjago comics are geniuses to some extent, in the sense that they flesh out the Ninjago storyline in a different medium and it works. This is especially true with the Garmadon solo comic and the Spinjitzu Brothers series of books, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that they are better writers than the people that are currently writing the show. I think there could be more of a connection between the two groups of writers. For example, they could communicate a little bit more when writing their own separate entities for the Ninjago series. But I think we have quality writers both in terms of the show and in terms of the books and comics. Though I do love the appreciation for the comic and the book side of the Ninjago universe, because I feel like that's ignored by a large majority of the community, when in reality it really should not be. I think more Ninjago fans should read the books and more Ninjago fans should check out the comics. Hot take: that random actor guy being Jay's original dad is stupid. Yeah, I don't really agree with this one either. I mean, yeah, it is a hot take, right? I'm not really finding myself to be agreeing with this statement. I think it makes sense for Cliff Gordon to be Jay's biological dad. And it makes sense story-wise because Jay had a connection with Cliff Gordon before, and he didn't even realize that Cliff Gordon was his dad. Jay was a huge fan of the Fritz Donegan movies, in which Cliff Gordon actually starred as Fritz Donegan, so I can see where the storyline started to lay the groundwork, and I can see how that could be a pretty ironic twist for Jay's character, so I don't really find it to be a stupid decision. I mean, sure, it might seem random to some people, but in the context of the Ninjago story and Jay's character, it does make sense. Again, that's just my opinion though. You guys are free to disagree. The Oni trilogy is overrated. Harumi is a frustrating antagonist with a muddled motivation that makes no sense. They flanderized Garmadon's character, and I feel like Ninjago should not be dark. So we have a couple of different takes here, but all of which I do find to be pretty spicy. First of all, the Oni trilogy being overrated. Yeah, a lot of people really love the Oni trilogy. I wouldn't say I'd call it overrated. I mean, it certainly does deserve the love that it receives, in my opinion. Harumi being a frustrating antagonist, I do understand why people have issues with Harumi. I'm not sure if her motivation is muddled though. Her motivation does make sense. The big snake killed her parents, Garmadon killed the big snake. She grew some admiration for Garmadon, wants to bring him back to spite Lloyd. At least I think it makes sense. Also, they flanderized Garmadon's character, essentially just by making him the evil rendition of Garmadon again, and not attaching any of his good traits. I saw that comment a lot in this particular hot takes comment section, talking about how the Oni trilogy Garmadon kind of ruined Garmadon's character. Garmadon would soon come around in March of the Oni, that's for sure, and and Ninjago shouldn't be dark. Yeah, I can see why people would agree with that. By default, Ninjago is a kids show, and I feel like a lot of people would not want kids to be exposed to super dark things. But then again, Ninjago's darkness isn't really all that dark when you compare it to other franchises and other shows. But in terms of Ninjago being dark, I know a lot of people would love to see Ninjago take a more mature approach when it comes to certain stories. But at the same time, some people may not want Ninjago to be dark because think of the children. Hot take, there isn't really a bad Ninjago season, all of them are good in their own way. I kind of agree with this one to an extent. I feel like every Ninjago installment has something good about it. However, that does not mean that they are good stories or good seasons on their own. Despite them having good traits, I wouldn't go as far as to call them good per se. And I feel that same way for a lot of media out there. I can point out good things and positive attributes of pretty much everything. Ninjago is no different, so I don't find myself fully agreeing with this hot take, but I can kind of see where this person is coming from. Hot take, Ninjago needs to expand and get away from treading the same ground with the ninja. It's time to follow a new set of characters. I find it interesting because a lot of people have been saying this. I'm not sure if this technically qualifies as a hot take. I'm sure some people would absolutely lose their minds if Ninjago were to cycle out the old ninja and replace them with a new batch of characters. And I feel like with Ninjago United introducing new characters especially, and possibly new ninja, I feel like maybe we won't see the same ground being treaded anymore. But I can see where this comment is coming from as well, because Ninjago has been repeating a lot over the course of its existence, and especially with Ninjago Crystallized bringing back a lot of older attributes of previous seasons, yeah, I can see why people are pretty tired of that. Again, half the fan base might leave if that happens, so Ninjago has to be smart about this, but I feel like they can do something new and something fresh. The Omega was an incredible villain, as he was pure evil and actually managed to manipulate Garmadon, basically the Overlord 2.0. I thought this one was cool because you don't really see a lot of people singing the praises of the Omega. The Omega for a lot of people is kind of a forgettable villain, myself included. Honestly, I forgot the Omega even existed until I read this comment. But I do feel like the Omega, to an extent, is another one of Garmadon's most iconic enemies. I wouldn't call the Omega incredible, but I do like seeing some love for the Omega every now and then. Hot take, I really like the coloring in Season 7. The colors were more muted than previous seasons, which made everything look more serious and intense. I don't think it deserves the amount of hate that the season gets. So talking about Hands of Time for a second, I feel like the coloring and the visual style of Hands of Time is one of its weakest attributes, if I'm being wholeheartedly honest. In fact, I always thought that Hands of Time looked a little bit weird, and that's because it does. Hands of Time had a lot of production issues that were holding it back visually. For example, the characters always looked way too shiny, everything always looked too fake in my opinion, which is kind of rich considering that it is a Lego show by default, and Lego does have that plastic look, obviously because it's plastic, but in Ninjago that was never an issue before Hands of Time. If that visual style works for you though, that's awesome. It certainly wasn't intentional by any means, but I'm glad that some people do appreciate it. Hot take, Garmadon is a terrible character. He is only there when it's ideal for the plot, and we barely have any backstory of him. I'm not sure where this comment is coming from when they mention how we barely have any backstory for Garmadon. We've seen a ton of Garmadon flashbacks before, and his backstory is very fleshed out and very much explained, especially regarding the extended media like the comic books and whatnot. Both Spinjitzu Brothers and the Garmadon solo comic take a deep dive into Garmadon's character and his backstory. If you don't like Garmadon, that's totally fine. A lot of people have issues with Garmadon's character, especially nowadays. But to say that there's hardly any backstory for Garmadon, I feel like is just kind of inaccurate. But you could make the argument that the Ninjago series should have all that backstory and you shouldn't have to rely on books, which I can see. But the show also has a lot of backstory for Garmadon as well, so I'm not really sure where this comment is coming from. And finally, we have this comment, which I thought I would include right at the end here because I thought it was funny. It made me laugh. This comment just reads, "Acronix is cute. JK. I don't know why you said JK. Acronix is quite the looker, that's for sure." And with that being said, guys, that'll pretty much conclude it for this round of Ninjago hot takes. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you very much to everybody who submitted your own hot takes. We had a lot of submissions for this rendition of Ninjago hot takes, and I could not get through everybody's comments. And I will say as well, we've done a lot of these hot takes videos at this point. I have seen a lot of repeating takes that I really didn't feel the need to retread for this video, so we may not have had as many takes as usual for this round of Ninjago Ninjago hot takes, but I still appreciated reading all of your guys' hot takes, and I encourage you guys to submit more when the time rolls around for us to make another Ninjago hot takes video, which should be at some point next month. I'm going to try to do these monthly for the year of 2023, and we'll just see how it goes from there. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to leave all of your thoughts down below in the comments section. Which of these hot takes do you find yourself agreeing with, if any, and which ones do you not agree with? Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed today's video, feel free to like and subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I will talk to you guys again very soon. Peace.